The human brain is an interesting and powerful organ, but understanding why it does what it does is a process that we're still studying. Both the conscious and subconscious mind have a significant influence on our behavior, but most of us have only a minimal understanding of how they work. What follows are 15 interesting facts about human psychology, starting off with a summary of the first 15. Number 1, we blame a person's behavior on their personality unless it's us. Has someone ever cut you off at a roundabout or intersection and made you really mad, only for you to go on to do the exact same thing to someone else just 10 minutes later? Although the person that cut you off infuriated you, you're likely to have justified your own actions to yourself because you're in a hurry and it's just this once. We tend to attribute our bad behavior to external forces and other people's bad behavior to their internal attributes. Number 2, we don't predict our reaction to future events very well. We often think that we're going to react to a future event in a certain way, only for the event to actually take place and us to find that we reacted completely differently to how we predicted. We place hope in the ability of a single occurrence to be able to change everything, but we often find that it doesn't do much to change how we feel at all. Number 3, our strongest memories are usually inaccurate. We feel like memories of traumatic events burn themselves into our minds to remain there forever. This is also known as flashbulb memories. Studies have shown that the stronger the emotional state you were in during that event, the more the memory is inaccurate. Number 4, we can only sustain a high level of concentration for 10 minutes. Do you think you can concentrate on a task for more than 10 minutes? Studies indicate otherwise. On average, a person's attention span peaks after 10 minutes, then the mind begins to wander. Number 5, our brains wander for about 30% of the day. On average, we spend about 30% of our day daydreaming, though some people do it more. The upside of this is that researchers point out that people who tend to daydream more are better at solving problems and tend to be more creative. Number 6, humans can't multitask. You may hear people claiming that they're natural multitaskers, and you've probably even seen it in some job requirements, but humans simply cannot multitask. Sure, you can listen to music while you work, but your brain can only process one higher function task at a time. That seems that you'll either be doing work and mainly ignoring the music, or listening to the music and ignoring your work. People simply cannot think about two things at once. Number 7, most of your decisions are made subconsciously. Do you think about all the decisions you make, weighing all the options and calculating the impact of each outcome? You might think you are, but you're wrong. The majority of your decisions are made in your subconscious because otherwise your conscious mind would be overwhelmed with information and you'll probably get mentally frozen. The reason for this is that your brain receives over 11 million bits of information every second, and there's simply not enough brain power to go through all of it consciously. Number 8, we can only store between 5 and 9 bits of information at once. The average human can only keep an average of 7 bits of information at once in their short-term memory. Each of the 7 bits of information can be comprised of several pieces of relevant data. The best example is remembering a phone number. It can be anywhere between 9 and 14 digits long, so we break it into segments like country code, area code, and a set of numbers we split, usually into 3 to 4 digit groups. Number 9, we prefer shorter lines of text, but read longer ones better. It might sound counterintuitive, but while we might prefer to read narrow columns, we read the same information faster if it's spread to the width of the page. The only reason you don't notice that is because you visually prefer the shorter layout. Number 10, we want more choices, but choose better with fewer options. Professor Dan Ariely tells in his book, Predictably Irrational, about an experiment he and his colleagues performed. They set up 2 booths that offered jam for sale. One booth had 24 different kinds of jam, while the other only had 6 kinds of jam. The table with fewer options managed to sell 6 times more jam than the one with more options. This reverts us back to number 8. Our brain just cannot process too many options. Number 11, we think other people are more easily influenced than us. We can see the effect advertising has on other people more clearly than its impact on ourselves. This is known as the third-person effect. We can tell how an ad affects our peers, but deny its effect on ourselves. And it gets worse when it's an ad for something we have no interest in. You have likely not realized it, but all the advertisements you see every day have a subconscious effect on your mood, desires, and even attitude. Number 12, your brain doesn't stop working when you sleep. Your brain is just as active when you sleep as it is when you're awake. Scientists have discovered that the only time your brain clears out toxins and waste is when you sleep. It is also believed that during the sleep cycles, your brain sorts out all the data from the previous day and creates new associations. Number 13, wisdom of the crowd is not very wise. Psychologists refer to this as groupthink. The larger the group of individuals, the more likely it is to make choices based on emotions rather than logic and common sense. Number 14, crowds are easily swayed. People with a dominant or charismatic personality can easily affect crowds' opinions and manipulate groups into doing their own bidding. They appeal to the group's emotions, taking advantage of the aforementioned groupthink. Number 15, it takes a person 66 days to form a habit. There is a lot of research data that suggests that following a pattern for 66 days will make it habitual. If, for example, you want to be better at cleaning your home or going to the gym, make a conscious effort to do it for 66 days, after which it will become a habit and will be easier to preserve. This also works for breaking habits.